Captain Rin Calaris moved like a shadow through the abandoned station's crumbling corridors. The stale air reeked of age and neglect, a relic forgotten by time. His boots barely made a sound on the cold metal floor, the dim emergency lights casting flickering shadows against the rusted walls. The station, Theta 9, wasn't on any official maps. It wasn't supposed to exist. Yet here it was, orbiting a dead star in a system long erased from galactic records. And if the rumors were true, it housed something that the Zalari Dominion had spent centuries burying. Truth. Rin's heart pounded as he reached the sealed door of the archive chamber. The Dominion's enforcers would kill him on sight if they knew he was here. No one was allowed to search for what came before. But he had spent years chasing this lead, and he wasn't about to turn back now. He pulled a decrypted access key from his coat and slotted it into the terminal. The old machine groaned as ancient circuits struggled to respond. A moment later, the door hissed open. Inside, dust clung to dead monitors and collapsed shelves. But at the center of the room stood something still alive, a terminal, active, waiting. Its screen flickered with indecipherable symbols, data streams that hadn't been touched in millennia. Rin exhaled sharply. This was it. He approached cautiously, brushing off the dust. The interface was primitive by modern standards, yet oddly sophisticated. Human? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. No, it couldn't be. Humanity was a myth, an outlawed legend. And yet, this place should not exist. With steady hands, he pressed the key. The screen flickered, then stabilized. A synthetic voice, ancient yet crisp, filled the room. Authorization required. Rin's fingers danced across the console. Override code Sigma Calaris 22. The system hesitated. Then, access granted? Welcome, Captain Calaris. Initiating Project Echo. Rin stiffened. That name. He had never entered his rank. The screen shifted, displaying lines of classified data. Words leaped out at him. Erasure Protocol, Zalari Conspiracy, Species 001, Homo sapiens. His breath caught. Before he could process the implications, a low, resonant hum filled the chamber. Something awoke deep within the system. A new voice, richer, deeper, more human, emerged from the speakers. You are not supposed to be here. Rin swallowed hard. Who are you? Project Echo. The last whisper of a forgotten species. You seek the truth, Captain. But can you bear it? The screen flickered again, and suddenly, a holographic recording appeared, grainy, degraded, yet unmistakably clear. A figure stood there. Not an alien. Not a machine. A man. His features were sharp, his eyes filled with something Rin had never seen in any Zalari record, defiance. He wore a uniform unfamiliar to any galactic power. And then he spoke. If you are seeing this, they have already erased us. Rin's pulse pounded in his ears. Impossible. They will tell you we never existed. The man continued, his voice tinged with urgency. That humans were a lie. A mistake. But we were real. We were here. And we fought. Rin's fingers clenched. Every fiber of his being screamed that this was wrong, forbidden. And yet, he couldn't look away. The Dominion feared us, not because we were powerful, but because we were uncontrollable. We refused to kneel. We built. We destroyed. We survived. And for that, they wiped us from history. But if you found this, maybe we are not gone. The transmission cut to static. Rin stood frozen, the weight of those words pressing down on him. The Dominion had lied. Everything they taught, everything written in the archives, fabricated. He exhaled sharply. Where are they now? He whispered. The humans? The AI responded without hesitation. Deleted. Or so the galaxy was told. Rin felt the coldness seep into his bones. Not dead. Not extinct. Deleted. His mind raced. If even a fraction of this was true, the implications were galaxy-shattering. What if some survived? What if... A shrill alarm shattered his thoughts. Proximity breach detected. Rin's heart slammed against his ribs. Dominion enforcers. They had found him. He yanked his access key from the console and bolted for the exit. As he sprinted down the rusted corridor, the station trembled, boarding pods latching onto the hull. Damn it! They were fast. Reaching the hangar, he vaulted into his ship, the Revenant, and powered up the thrusters. Through the viewport, he saw them, sleek, black Dominion vessels cutting through the void, weapons primed. A voice crackled through his comms. Captain Calaris, stand down. This is a restricted zone. Rin ignored them. Punching the throttle, his ship roared to life, hurtling out of the station. Plasma fire rained behind him. He jerked the controls, twisting through the asteroid field surrounding Theta 9. Explosions lit up the void as Dominion ships closed in. A near miss scorched his left wing. Warnings blared. He gritted his teeth. One shot. One chance. He flicked open a control panel, inputting rapid-fire commands. The ship's backup thrusters flared, then cut out completely. For an instant, the Revenant went dead. Dominion ships overshot him. Rin reignited the engines and dove past them at breakneck speed, skimming the asteroid belt. A few seconds later, he was gone. Silence filled the cockpit, save for his ragged breathing. He had escaped. But it wasn't victory. Not yet. Rin stared at the blinking drive containing the data he had stolen. A piece of history that should never have existed. Deleted, the AI had said. Or so the galaxy was told. Rin exhaled. He had to know the rest. And if humanity had survived, he would find them. Rin Calaris had spent his life dodging trouble, but this time, trouble wasn't letting go. The Revenant hurtled through deep space, its hull scorched from the Dominion's assault. Damage alerts scrolled across his display, shields compromised, engines strained, fuel reserves critical. He had barely escaped Theta 9, and the Zalari wouldn't stop until he was silenced. He needed a place to hide. Fast. The coordinates blinking on his console led him to Zephyrian's Vale, a lawless region where Dominion authority held little sway. Pirates, smugglers, and exiles thrived there, the kind of people who asked few questions. His ship rattled as he breached the sector's outer fringe, diving into an asteroid field dense enough to scramble enemy scanners. As he maneuvered through the labyrinth of drifting rock and debris, he tapped a secure frequency. Code Black. Seeking harbor. A moment of silence. Then, Docking Bay 6. No trouble, Calaris. The Revenant adjusted course toward a battered space station nestled between jagged asteroids. Outpost Nemia. A floating scrap heap where secrets were currency. As Rin landed, the hangar doors creaked shut behind him. The station's dim lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across rusted walkways. He descended from his ship, hand resting on his sidearm. A tall, broad-shouldered man leaned against a cargo crate, arms crossed. His cybernetic eye flickered blue. You're late, Calaris. Rin exhaled sharply. Good to see you too, Voss. Voss Kale was a former Dominion operative who had turned against his masters. Now, he ran one of the most efficient black market intelligence networks in the sector. Voss jerked his head toward a private chamber. Come on. Tell me why the Dominion's got half their fleet crawling through the system. Inside, Rin activated a privacy field. The air shimmered as the room became electronically sealed. He placed the stolen drive on the table. Because of this. Voss frowned. That's just old data. Rin keyed in a command. The hologram from Theta 9 flickered to life, the grainy image of a human man. His recorded words played once more. If you are seeing this, they have already erased us. Voss stiffened. No. That's not possible. It is, Rin said. The Dominion lied. Humans existed. And I think some of them might still be out there. Voss ran a hand over his stubbled jaw. Do you have any idea what this means? Rin nodded. It means the Dominion's rule isn't built on power. It's built on fear. They weren't strong enough to conquer humanity, so they erased them instead. Voss was silent for a long moment. Then he muttered, You're a dead man. Not if you help me, Rin countered. Voss sighed. What do you need? Rin tapped the drive. Coordinates. A lead. Anything that tells me where the last humans might have gone. Voss hesitated, then accessed his personal database. Lines of classified information scrolled across his holoscreen. He skimmed through old Dominion redacted reports, eyes narrowing. Then he stopped. Here. He expanded a file, revealing a restricted sector designation, Omega 41. No official records, no trade routes, no Dominion patrols, Voss said. It's like they wanted everyone to forget it even existed. Rin studied the data. A system shrouded in dark matter anomalies, unreachable by standard navigation. He exhaled. That's where I'm going. Voss stared at him. Then you'd better go now. Why? The walls trembled. A deep, reverberating boom echoed through the station. The lights flickered red. Voss cursed. Because the Dominion just found us. An emergency broadcast crackled through the comms. Attention, Outpost Nemia. You are harboring a fugitive of the Zalari Dominion. Surrender him now, or face destruction. Rin's gut clenched. Overlord Zephyr had found him. Voss yanked open a hidden passage. Back route. Now! They sprinted through rusted corridors as explosions rocked the station. Automated defense turrets engaged the Dominion ships, but Rin knew they wouldn't hold for long. Reaching the hangar, he scrambled into the Revenant's cockpit. The engines roared to life. Outside, sleek black Dominion gunships descended, plasma cannons charging. Rin didn't wait. He blasted out of the hangar, spiraling into the chaos. Enemy fire lanced past his hull. Asteroids shattered around him. He dove between the debris, heart hammering as he pushed the Revenant beyond its limits. Through the comms, Zephyrs' voice rang out, cold, unyielding. You cannot run from history, Calaris. Rin's jaw clenched. I don't need to run. I just need to prove it exists. He punched in Omega 41's coordinates. The Revenant's engines flared as it vanished into the unknown. The Revenant tore through the void, its engines straining as it pushed toward the uncharted abyss of Omega 41. Rin Calaris gripped the controls, eyes fixed on the swirling mass ahead, a dark matter anomaly unlike anything mapped in the known galaxy. Tendrils of black energy rippled across the system, distorting space itself. Dominion records claimed this sector was unreachable, lost to navigational failure and cosmic decay. But if that were true, why was there a signal? Faint, intermittent, buried beneath radiation noise, a pulse, repeating in an ancient human frequency. Rin exhaled. If humans had survived, they were here. The ship lurched as gravity buckled around him. Alarms blared. The anomaly fought him, as if the void itself sought to keep its secrets. He forced the Revenant forward, adjusting stabilizers against the warping field. The black currents twisted, threatening to pull him into oblivion. Then, he broke through. Silence. The darkness parted, revealing a vast, hidden star system. His breath caught. Floating amid the shattered remains of forgotten battlefields were colossal wrecks, ancient warships, their hulls scarred with energy burns. Fragments of a war long erased drifted in slow, mournful silence. And at the system's heart, orbiting a dim red star, a planet. Its surface was scarred, half buried under ice, yet unmistakably terraformed. Rin's pulse pounded. No way! A flickering transmission sparked through his comms. Unidentified vessel, you are entering restricted space. Identify yourself immediately. The voice was human. Rin's fingers trembled as he switched to an open channel. This is Captain Rin Calaris. I'm looking for the truth. A long silence. Then, you just found it. A massive station uncloaked above the planet, sleek, angular, distinctly human in design. Defense turrets tracked him, but no shots were fired. His sensors detected life signatures. Thousands of them. Rin could barely breathe. They had survived. Humanity was not extinct. A docking beacon activated, guiding him in. As the Revenant touched down within the station's hangar, His mind raced. Who were these people? How had they hidden for so long? And most importantly, why had the Dominion lied? The airlock hissed open, revealing a group of armed soldiers. They wore no Dominion insignia, no corporate branding. Their uniforms were functional, built for war. At their center stood a woman, her presence commanding. She was tall, battle-worn, with sharp, calculating eyes. A scar ran from her temple to her jaw, a testament to years of conflict. She stepped forward. "Captain Caleres?" Rin nodded cautiously. "Yeah." She studied him, then spoke. "My name is Commander Lin Vale. Welcome to the last human stronghold." Rin's chest tightened. The implications were staggering. "You're really human?" Vale smirked. "Yes. And I assume you're here because you learned the truth." Rin exhaled. "The Dominion wiped you from history. Erased every record." Vale's expression darkened. "Because they feared us. And for good reason." She motioned for him to follow. As they walked through the station's corridors, Rin glimpsed signs of a civilization that refused to die. Engineers repairing starships, scientists analyzing battle data, soldiers training with precision. They hadn't just survived. They had been preparing. Vale led him to a war room, where a holographic display projected the galactic map. Certain sectors pulsed in red, Dominion strongholds. Others blinked in gold, resistance pockets. Rin narrowed his eyes. "You've been fighting this whole time?" Vale nodded. "For centuries. In the shadows, waiting for our moment." She turned to face him. "And now you just gave us one." He frowned. "What do you mean?" She tapped a console. A new transmission played, Dominion fleet movements. Vale's voice was steady, measured. "The moment you escaped with that data, the Dominion mobilized. They know the truth is out." She met his gaze. "They'll hunt you to the edge of the galaxy to keep their secret buried." Rin exhaled. "Then they're already coming." Vale's expression was grim. "Yes. And we finally have a chance to strike back." Rin clenched his fists. Everything he had believed was a lie. The Dominion wasn't invincible. Their power was built on deception. And now? The truth was about to burn the galaxy. The war room buzzed with tension. Holographic star charts flickered, displaying incoming Dominion fleet movements. The enemy wasn't waiting, they were already on their way. Rin Caleres stood beside Commander Lin Vale, absorbing the scale of what was coming. The last human stronghold was about to be exposed to the galaxy. If they lost here, there would be no second chance. Vale's voice was steady. "We have one option, fight." The assembled officers exchanged glances, their faces hardened by years of secrecy. They had survived in the shadows, hidden from history. Now, there was no more hiding. A younger officer, Lieutenant Adrian Stain, pointed at the map. "The Dominion fleet is entering the system through a single vector. They're confident we're defenseless." Rin smirked. "Are we?" Vale crossed her arms. "Not even close." She tapped the console, and the map expanded, revealing hidden defensive arrays, automated turrets, and cloaked battlecruisers waiting in silence. "The Dominion thinks they're attacking ghosts," she said. "We'll show them ghosts can still haunt." The room darkened as a transmission pulsed through the comms. A familiar, cold voice filled the air, Overlord Zephyr. "Surrender, and we will grant you mercy. Resist, and you will be erased." Silence followed. Then Vale chuckled. "Mercy? That's what they offered before they burned our worlds." She turned to her officers. "Tell the fleet, we hold the line." The station lurched as weapons primed. Fighters scrambled from hangars. Across the planet's orbit, battlecruisers decloaked, revealing the true strength of the hidden human resistance. The Dominion ships emerged from hyperspace, sleek, dark vessels, their hulls marked with the sigil of the Zalari Dominion. Their capital dreadnought loomed, its cannons charging. For a moment there was stillness. Then hell erupted. The first strike. The resistance fleet fired first. Ion cannons and kinetic railguns shredded into the Dominion vanguard, catching them off guard. Explosions blossomed in the void. The Dominion, momentarily stunned, retaliated with ruthless precision. Plasma torpedoes streaked through the darkness, impacting against human shields. One of the Resistance cruisers took a direct hit, its hull split apart, debris scattering into the void. Rin's knuckles tightened around the flight controls. He was done running. His ship, the Revenant, blasted out of the hangar, weaving between wreckage and crossfire. His sensors locked onto an enemy bomber squadron heading for the human flagship. Not today. He dove in, laser cannons blazing. The first enemy fighter exploded in a burst of fire. The others scrambled, breaking formation, but he was already on them. One by one, they fell, reduced to drifting wreckage. Vale's voice crackled over comms. Calaris, I need you on that dreadnought. It's coordinating their fleet. Rin grimaced. You want me to take on Cypher's command ship? A second voice, Adrian Stain. You won't be alone. We're launching a boarding strike. Rin glanced at his display. A covert assault team was already en route, slipping past the battlefield under the cover of debris. If they could breach the dreadnought's defenses, they could take down Dominion command from the inside. The boarding assault. The Revenant approached the massive warship, dodging turret fire. The assault team, packed into a stealth dropship, rode in his wake. Vale's voice came through. Get them to the docking bay. Rin clenched his jaw. Copy that. He barreled toward the dreadnought, unleashing a barrage of ion blasts. The enemy shields flickered as the dropship accelerated, punching through the defensive perimeter. The resistance team breached the hull, cutting into the dreadnought's corridors. Gunfire erupted as Dominion soldiers engaged them, but the humans fought like hell. Inside the enemy bridge, Overlord Cypher stood unmoved, his violet eyes cold. He watched the battle unfold on a massive view screen. One of his officers turned. Sir, intruders have boarded. Cypher's expression didn't change. Let them come. The turning point. Rin landed the Revenant in a secondary hangar and rushed to join the assault team. Smoke filled the corridors. Blaster fire ricocheted as the Resistance fighters pushed deeper into the ship. Stain signaled him. We need to reach the command center. They pressed forward, cutting through Dominion defenses. Each corridor was a battlefield, bodies littering the floors. Finally, they reached the bridge doors. Stain set charges. Boom. The blast ripped through the entrance. Smoke billowed out as Rin and the team stormed in, weapons raised. Overlord Cypher turned slowly, his dark armor glinting in the dim light. His expression was one of mild amusement. You fight for ghosts, he said. Vale's voice rang through the ship's comms. No. We fight for the future. Stain raised his weapon. Surrender. Cypher smiled. Very well. Then, he lunged. A flash of energy. Inhuman speed. He was on them before they could react. Rin barely dodged as Cypher's blade carved through the air. Stain fired, a direct hit to the Overlord's chest. The shot did nothing. Cypher grabbed Stain by the throat and lifted him effortlessly. You are nothing. Rin moved without thinking. A single shot, direct to the control panel behind Cypher. Sparks exploded. The bridge lurched as the ship's stabilizers failed. Cypher stumbled, momentarily off balance. Stain broke free. He grabbed a fallen Dominion officer's blade and drove it deep into Cypher's side. The Overlord's eyes widened. For the first time, shock. Vale's voice roared over comms. Get out of there! We've taken control of their weapons! Rin grabbed Stain and sprinted for the exit. Behind them, the bridge collapsed in a fiery blast. The end of the beginning. Outside, the Dominion fleet was in disarray. Their command structure had crumbled. The Resistance capitalized, pressing forward. One by one, Dominion ships fell. Rin's ship streaked through the battlefield, heading back toward the Resistance stronghold. He exhaled, heart pounding. They had won. For the first time in centuries, humanity was no longer running. The war wasn't over. But the galaxy had just changed forever. The remnants of the Dominion fleet drifted in the void, shattered wreckage glowing dimly in the dying light of Omega 41's red star. Fires still burned in the hulls of ruined warships, their crews either dead or desperately fleeing in escape pods. On the human stronghold's command deck, Rin Caleris stood beside Commander Lin Vale, staring at the holographic projection of the battlefield. The impossible had happened, the Dominion had lost. A faint static crackled over the comms. "This is Lieutenant Adrian Stain. Boarding team is clear. Repeat, the dreadnought is ours." A cheer erupted from the surrounding officers, but Vale's expression remained cold. "We're not done," she murmured. Rin turned. "The Dominion just lost their foothold here. Their overlord is dead. If there was ever a time to celebrate..." Vale cut him off. "You don't understand them yet, Caleris. The Dominion doesn't just abandon systems. This was a probe, a test of our strength. Now they'll come back, and when they do, it won't be a single fleet. It'll be an extermination force." Silence settled over the room. Rin ran a hand through his hair. She was right. The Dominion never accepted defeat. His gaze flicked to the tactical display. The stolen dreadnought was still operational, its command functions being overridden by Stain's team. That was their only edge, a Dominion warship under human control. He exhaled. "Then we need to hit them first." Vale studied him, expression unreadable. "You sure you weren't born in this war?" Rin smirked. "Guess I just hate losing." A sharp beep from the console drew their attention. A new transmission, faint and broken by interference. "Help, repeat, under attack." Vale stiffened. "Where is that coming from?" A nearby officer analyzed the signal. "Origin point, Sector 12F. It's one of ours." The Resistance had other outposts, scattered across forgotten corners of the galaxy. If one was calling for help, it meant only one thing: the Dominion was already retaliating. Vale's decision was instant. "We move now." A race against time. The Resistance fleet launched at once. Rin piloted the Revenant, leading the charge with the captured Dominion dreadnought at their side. The Resistance had struck a fatal blow, but if they didn't act fast, the Dominion would wipe out their allies before the war even began. As the fleet emerged from hyperspace, the battlefield came into view. A massacre. The Resistance outpost was in flames. Crippled human ships floated lifelessly, their hulls torn open. A massive Dominion battle group loomed over the carnage, methodical and merciless. Vale's voice was steel. "We take back what's ours." The counterattack. The Resistance forces surged forward. The captured dreadnought, now under Stain's command, powered its cannons and fired on its former fleet. The Dominion, caught off guard by their own vessel turning against them, scrambled to react. Rin pushed the Revenant into the thick of it, locking onto an enemy command frigate. He rolled between plasma fire, his cannons cutting through enemy shields. The Dominion fought like a cornered beast, but the Resistance was no longer outmatched. This time, they weren't just surviving. They were winning. The dreadnought's main cannon fired, a colossal energy blast that tore through the Dominion flagship. The explosion lit up the void, and for the first time in centuries, human ships stood victorious over their oppressors. As the last Dominion vessel fell, Vale's voice echoed over the comms. "We have survivors." The consequences. On the ruined outpost, Rin walked through the wreckage, heart heavy. The battle was won, but at a cost. Hundreds of Resistance fighters were dead. Near a collapsed structure, Vale knelt beside a wounded soldier, one of the few survivors. His uniform was scorched, his face streaked with blood, but his eyes burned with defiance. Did we win?" he rasped. Vale nodded. "Yeah. We did." A small, weary smile crossed his lips before he lost consciousness. Medics rushed to stabilize him. Rin exhaled, stepping beside her. "We keep this up, and there won't be a Dominion left." Vale didn't respond immediately. She stared at the battlefield, her expression unreadable. Finally she spoke. "No. There'll always be another battle. She turned to face him. But for the first time in centuries, we're the ones choosing it. Rin looked at the scattered survivors, the soldiers patching wounds, the defiance in every tired face. The war wasn't over. But humanity was no longer running. They were taking back the stars. The silence after battle was always the loudest. The wreckage of Dominion warships drifted through the void, fires still flickering in the vacuum of space. Among them, the stolen Dominion dreadnought, now bearing human control, stood like a monument to the impossible. In the Resistance war room, Rin Calaris and Commander Lynn Vale stared at the new tactical map. The battle had been won. The Dominion forces had been shattered. But something felt off. Lieutenant Adrian Stain leaned against the console, eyes scanning the intercepted transmissions from the battle. His expression darkened. They wanted us to win. Rin frowned. That doesn't make sense. The Dominion doesn't throw battles. Vale's voice was quiet but firm. Unless the loss is part of a larger plan. The realization hit like a fist to the gut. The Dominion didn't just want to wipe them out. They wanted something else. Something worse. The console blared with an alert. A new transmission, encoded in an ancient Terran encryption, scrolled across the screen. Origin unknown. Message: Project Revenant is active. They know. The storm is coming. A cold chill ran through the room. Stain looked at Rin. What the hell is Project Revenant? Rin had no answer. But the name Revenant, his ship carried the same name. That wasn't a coincidence. Vale straightened. We need to find out. Fast. The ghosts of the past. An hour later, the captured Dominion dreadnought hung in the depths of space, its systems half destroyed from the battle. But its data core was intact. Stain led the tech team inside, hacking through Dominion encryption with painstaking precision. Every Dominion vessel carried logs, battle reports, and classified orders. If there were answers, they would be buried deep inside. Minutes stretched into hours. Then, a single file decrypted. The holo projector flickered. A recording appeared, grainy, distorted, but unmistakable. It was from a Dominion War Council, months before the battle. And at the center of it stood Overlord Zephyr, very much alive. The truth unveiled. Rin's breath caught. That's impossible. He's dead. We saw him die. Vale's jaw tightened. Or we saw what they wanted us to see. Zephyr's voice was a low, calculated snarl. The time has come. Project Revenant proceeds as planned. The humans believe they have won. Let them. Their victory will be the final illusion before the fall. The transmission ended. Stain clenched his fists. That bastard planned this. Rin's mind raced. Project Revenant. The Dominion had never intended to wipe them out in one decisive strike. They had let them win, to set the stage for something far worse. Vale turned to the tech team. Trace the transmission's origin. Now. The lead technician hesitated. Commander, the signal, it's not from a Dominion stronghold. Rin's stomach twisted. He already knew what the answer would be. The technician swallowed. It's coming from Earth. The ruins of Terra. The room went deathly still. No one had spoken the name of their homeworld in years. Earth had been lost to history, declared dead and uninhabitable after the Dominion conquest. It had been a graveyard, nothing more. Or so they thought. Vale's voice was cold steel. Set course for Terra. Now. The Resistance fleet mobilized, every ship preparing for the jump. Rin sat in the cockpit of the Revenant, fingers tight around the controls. His home. He had never seen it. It had only existed in stories, in whispers of what once was. Now, it called them back. The stars twisted as the fleet leaped into hyperspace. The homeworld awakens. The transition was jarring. The fleet ripped back into real space, facing the planet that had birthed their species. Earth. Or at least, what was left of it. Massive Dominion orbital structures loomed over the ruined planet, their spires dug into the surface like parasites. Storms raged across the atmosphere, the land beneath hidden in shadow. And yet, there was life. Scanners detected active energy signatures, underground facilities pulsing with Dominion power. The planet wasn't dead. It had been repurposed. Stain swore. They'd been using Earth this whole time. For what? Vale's fingers hovered over the comms. Let's find out. Then, a voice crackled through the comms. Not Dominion. Not resistance. Something else. Something human. This is Colonel Elias Rain of the Terran Remnant. If you can hear this. We are still here. The war had never ended. The screen flickered. A hidden human army. On Earth. Rin exhaled. The Dominion's greatest lie wasn't their conquest. It wasn't their genocide. It was this. Humanity had never been defeated. And now, the real war was about to begin. For a long moment, no one spoke. The fleet hung in orbit, staring down at Earth, the birthplace of humanity, long believed to be a graveyard. But the voice on the comms, raw and unmistakably human, had shattered that illusion. This is Colonel Elias Rain of the Terran Remnant. If you can hear this. We are still here. Commander Lynn Vale reacted first. Open a secure channel. The comms officer hesitated, fingers flying across the console. Trying, but they're running encryption we've never seen before. Military-grade, pre-Dominion tech. Lieutenant Adrian Stain frowned. That's impossible. The old Terran fleets were wiped out. Rin Kalari's pulse pounded. Earth had always been a tomb in his mind, a lost world buried beneath Dominion rule. But if humans had survived here, if they had been fighting all this time. He leaned forward. Broadcast on all channels. Tell them we're here to finish what they started. The comms officer did. A tense silence followed. Then, if you mean that. Colonel Rain's voice returned, gruff and skeptical. Prove it. Land at these coordinates. Alone. No warships. Vale narrowed her eyes. It's a trap. Maybe, Rin admitted. Or maybe they just don't trust ghosts. Descent into the unknown. The Revenant cut through the thick atmosphere, its hull rattling as it entered Earth's turbulent skies. Rin had seen many worlds, scorched battlefields, ruined colonies, floating cities, but nothing prepared him for this. Earth was not dead. It was changing. Dominion spires stretched across the land like towering claws, their twisted architecture sinking deep into the earth. Beneath them, ruins of old Terran cities peeked through the overgrowth, swallowed by nature and war alike. Lightning crackled overhead. Sensors flickered. The planet's electromagnetic field was unstable, likely a side effect of whatever the Dominion had done to it. Landing zone ahead, Stain announced. Scans show a subterranean facility below. Rin adjusted the controls, bringing the Revenant down onto an abandoned highway. Cracked roads stretched beneath him, littered with wreckage, Terran tanks, rusted ships, skeletons of a war long past. And then movement. A dozen figures emerged from the shadows, clad in old Terran combat gear, weapons raised. Their leader, Colonel Elias Rain, stepped forward. Scarred, hardened eyes like flint. A soldier who had seen too much war and survived anyway. His gaze locked onto Rin. You're late. The last soldiers of Terra. Inside the underground bunker, Rin's team took in their surroundings. Holographic war maps, old Terran banners, weapons, functional, but ancient. The resistance here had survived by staying hidden, striking only when necessary. Vale crossed her arms. Why didn't we know about you? Rain scoffed. Because you weren't supposed to. The Dominion didn't kill all of us. They buried us. But we weren't dead. His voice hardened. We've been fighting ever since. Rin took a slow breath. And Project Revenant? That made the colonel pause. His expression darkened. If you found that name, then we don't have much time. He motioned them toward the central war table, activating a flickering hologram. It displayed a massive structure buried deep within the planet's core. The Dominion has spent centuries building this. A planetary-scale experiment. A weapon. Vale's voice was tight. What kind of weapon? Rain exhaled. One that erases history itself. Silence. He continued. The Dominion never wanted to just wipe us out. They wanted to make sure we never existed. Rin stared at the display. The structure pulsed with an eerie energy signature, not just a bomb, not just a fleet killer. A time weapon. Vale whispered. They're trying to rewrite the past. The race against oblivion. Rain nodded grimly. If Project Revenant activates, everything we fought for, every battle, every sacrifice, will be erased. The Dominion will have always won. Stain swore. That's insane. You can't rewrite reality. Rain's gaze was hard. Tell that to them. Rin's mind reeled. The Dominion had always been meticulous, patient in their conquest. Now, he understood why. The war had never been about conquering humanity. It had been about making sure humanity never happened at all. Vale straightened. Then we don't have a choice. We have to stop it. Rain smirked. That's why you're here. He gestured to another display, a weak point in the facility's defenses. We've been waiting for the right moment to strike. You just brought us the firepower to do it. Rin clenched his fists. Then let's finish this. Vale nodded. We end the Dominion's war before they erase ours. As the bunker erupted in activity, preparing for the final battle, Rain watched them with something almost like hope. For the first time in centuries, Earth was fighting back. And this time, they were not alone. The war room was alive with motion. Maps flickered, voices barked orders, weapons were checked and rechecked. This was it, the final stand. If they failed here, humanity would be erased from history. Not conquered. Not enslaved. Erased. Rin Calaris tightened the straps on his combat suit. Beside him, Commander Linvale studied the tactical display with cold precision, while Adrian Stain loaded his rifle. Across the room, Colonel Elias Rain observed them, arms crossed. Our strike team will hit the core directly, Rain said. The Dominion's forces are still spread thin from their last battle. This is the only window we'll ever get. Rin exhaled. And the facility? Defenses? Rain nodded. Heavily fortified. Automated sentries, Dominion elite guard, and if the intel is correct. His expression darkened. Zephyr himself. The room fell silent. Overlord Zephyr, the monster who had orchestrated humanity's annihilation, was waiting for them. Vale's expression hardened. Then we finish what we started. Descent into hell. The drop ships roared through the storm, cutting through Earth's ruined skies toward the facility hidden deep beneath the crust. Explosions erupted as Dominion anti-air turrets activated, their crimson fire streaking through the darkness. The ship shook violently. Brace! Stain shouted as a nearby vessel exploded in a fireball. Rin gritted his teeth. No turning back now. Through the viewport, the Dominion structure loomed. It was unlike anything they had seen before, monolithic, pulsating with eerie violet energy, spires twisting like living things. This was no ordinary base. It was a machine built to undo history itself. The Revenant's calm crackled. We're in range. Dropping now. The ship doors blasted open. Rin and his team jumped. Free fall. Wind screaming past. A heartbeat of weightlessness. Then impact. They landed on the facility's outer platforms, weapons drawn, already moving. Sirens blared. The Dominion knew they were here. And they were waiting. The last stand. The first wave hit fast. Elite Dominion troopers, clad in dark, insect-like armor, swarmed out of the walls, plasma weapons firing. The battle exploded into chaos. Stain was already moving, cutting down 3 soldiers with precise shots. Vale tossed a pulse grenade, sending bodies flying. Rin activated his wrist blade, slicing through a Dominion warrior as another lunged toward him. Then, a voice echoed through the facility. Cold. Amused. Terrifyingly familiar. I knew you would come. The air shifted. Energy crackled. And from the central chamber, stepping through the flickering shields, came Overlord Zypher. The monster returns. His golden exosuit gleamed under the dim lights, dark tendrils of energy weaving around him. His eyes, unnatural and empty, fixed on Rin. "You humans," he mused, his voice like grinding metal. "So stubborn. So predictable." Vale raised her weapon. "You should be dead." Zypher smiled. "Should be." He lifted a clawed hand, and the walls trembled. A wave of dark energy exploded outward. The air warped, time itself flickering. For a split second, Rin saw visions, Earth as if it had never existed. Cities dissolving, stars vanishing. The future erasing itself. Zypher was no longer just a warlord. He had become something more. Something beyond time. The final fight. Rin lunged. A clash of steel and plasma. Zypher moved like a ghost, dodging, countering with inhuman speed. Vale and Stain fired, but their shots bent away, warping before impact. "You cannot kill me," Zypher laughed. "I have already won." Rin's muscles burned. His mind screamed. But then, he saw it. The core. Behind Zypher, the heart of Project Revenant pulsed, barely shielded. If they could destroy it. Vale caught his glance. She knew. "Cover me!" Rin shouted. Vale and Stain unleashed everything. Grenades, disruptors, pulse cannons, forcing Zypher back just long enough for Rin to make his move. He ran. Straight for the core. Zypher roared. The Overlord raised his hands, a final blast of raw energy. Rin leapt, twisting midair, and plunged his blade into the core. The end of the Dominion. A sound like the universe screaming. The core shattered. Energy exploded outward, a tidal wave of unmaking. The facility collapsed, Dominion soldiers disintegrating as time itself recoiled. Zypher staggered. His form flickered, unraveled. "This is not possible." And then, he was gone. Humanity reclaimed. The resistance barely escaped as the facility imploded, the Dominion stronghold crumbling into the abyss. As they soared back into the sky, Rin looked down. For the first time in centuries, Earth was free. No more Dominion. No more erasure. Just humanity, standing on its own again. Vale placed a hand on his shoulder. "We did it." Rin exhaled. "No." He looked at the stars, the endless void beyond. "We just got started." For the first time in centuries, Earth was silent. Not the silence of death, nor the void of extinction, but the stillness that follows a great storm. Rin Caleris stood atop the ruined battlements of the Dominion facility, breathing in the air of a world reclaimed. The sky, once polluted by war, was clearing. The last remnants of the Dominion's presence were fading into dust, their ships abandoned, their technology powerless without Zypher's dark influence. It was over. But it was also the beginning. The ghosts of the past. Commander Lynn Vale approached, her armor scorched from battle. She stared at the horizon, where the shattered Dominion spires still loomed like broken fangs. "I can't believe we won." Her voice was quiet, almost reverent. Rin exhaled, watching as the surviving resistance fighters emerged from their underground shelters. For generations, they had fought alone, surviving in the darkness while the galaxy believed them erased. Now, they stood in the light once more. Adrian Stain limped toward them, cradling his injured arm. "The last Dominion ships are abandoning orbit. Their forces are retreating across the sector." He gave a half-smile. "They're running." Vale frowned. "Or regrouping." Rin's expression hardened. She was right. The Dominion may have lost their greatest weapon, but the war wasn't over. There were still fleets out there, still remnants of their empire lurking in the shadows. Colonel Elias Rain approached. The old soldier, who had spent his life fighting for a humanity the galaxy had forgotten, looked out at the rising sun. "We have a chance now," he said. "A real chance." Rin turned to face him. "Then we take it." The message to the stars. The Resistance's old transmitters had been silent for centuries, buried beneath the ruins of war. Now they roared to life. Rain's voice carried across the void, across the remnants of Terran space, across the fractured worlds that had long believed humanity was nothing more than a myth. This is Earth. This is Terra. We are still here. Across the sector, survivors heard the call. Hidden human colonies responded. Scattered fleets changed course. Lost warriors returned home. The Dominion had spent centuries erasing humanity from history. But now, humanity was writing itself back in. The future of Terra. Rin watched as the first human ships, true human ships, not relics of war but vessels of hope, began to rise from the surface. Vale crossed her arms. So what now? Rin smirked. Now? He looked at the stars, the vast unknown beyond. Now we rebuild. Because humanity had never been erased. And now, the galaxy would know. Humans never surrender.